A Ukrainian sea drone cripples a $60 million Russian warship in the Black Sea, just as Moscow readies nuclear war drills with Belarus. Kremlin drones pierce Polish airspace, NATO scrambles, and the UN calls an emergency meeting. From Novorossiysk to Minsk to Warsaw, the stakes surge. Precision strikes, nuclear posturing, and a widening confrontation that could redraw the map of Europe. The question, who will blink first? Ukraine's military intelligence said on September 11th that its special forces struck and disabled a high-value Russian Black Sea Fleet vessel near Novorossiysk in a drone attack. The agency said the September 10th strike hit a Project MPS VZO-7 multi-purpose support ship, one of only 4 in Russia's fleet. Commissioned in 2015, according to the Kyiv Independent, the ship is worth an estimated $60 million. Ukrainian intelligence said in a statement,
"The vessel belonged to Russia's elite PDSS underwater sabotage unit, which includes diver reconnaissance specialists trained over years at significant cost and equipped with advanced gear. The destruction of the tugboat significantly limits the combat capabilities of the elite Russian unit."
According to the HUR, the drone targeted the vessel's bridge, destroying its navigation and communication systems and knocking out its electronic surveillance equipment. The ship was forced out of service and will require expensive repairs. At the time of the attack, the Russian vessel was carrying out electronic reconnaissance and patrolling approaches to Novorossiysk Bay, where Moscow has redeployed much of its Black Sea fleet after repeated Ukrainian strikes in Crimea. Ukraine has intensified its use of domestically produced sea and aerial drones in the Black Sea, claiming a series of successful attacks against Russia's navy over the past year. The strike comes days after Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Directorate released video of another operation carried out by its primary special group in Crimea. According to the officials, earlier on September 1st, Ukrainian drones hit a Russian airbase in Vardiska near Simferopol, destroying at least 2 Mi-8 combat helicopters valued at $20 million to $30 million. An equally damaging blow was a strike on a Russian military tugboat, believed to be the Buyuk 21-90 in Sevastopol Bay. The Crimean Peninsula, annexed by Russia in 2014, remains a key launchpad for Moscow's war. Russia has used the territory to deploy aviation and stage missile strikes deep into Ukraine. A provocative Russo-Belarusian military exercise is set to begin, simulating the launch of nuclear-armed medium-range ballistic missiles from Belarus at targets in Europe. According to official reports, the war games dubbed Zapad 2025 or West 2025 take place in Belarus starting September 12th and will last until September 16th. Troops from both countries will simulate repelling an attack, including airstrikes and sabotage.
The Russian-Belarusian. Drills will take place, and this is a planned exercise. It is not directed against anyone. We are talking about continuing military cooperation and working out interaction between the 2 strategic allies. So we will continue our work, which is not a secret for anyone. Everybody knows it well. And I repeat for one more time that all these actions are not directed against any other country.
About 13,000 Russian and Belarusian soldiers will, per official reports from Minsk, be on the ground in Belarus. Russia announced it was deploying nuclear weapons to Belarus in June 2023, at the time claiming it was a necessary response to Western deliveries of long-range conventional weapons to Ukraine. The Kremlin also said in its official statement that upcoming military drills in central and northwestern Belarus will simulate both offensive and defensive scenarios involving nuclear weapons.
Most troops deploying for the exercise, called Zapad 2025, will simulate attacking with and defending against nuclear weapons in military training areas into central or northwestern Belarus, or in the Russian enclave Kaliningrad. Smaller contingents in Russia's Moscow and Leningrad military districts, the Arctic region, and the Baltic and Barents Seas also will participate.
By midday Wednesday, authorities had not announced any planned actual missile launches during the two-week exercises. In a statement published by Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko's office, the main focus of the training will be joint Belarusian-Russian operations in a nuclear war, and particularly the field use of the much-touted Russian nuclear strike missile, the Oreshnik. Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Kranin told the state-run Belta news agency, "During the exercise, troops will practice planning nuclear strikes against a potential adversary and carrying them out. And the objective of the training is to maintain credibility of Russia's and Belarus' nuclear deterrent force." Meanwhile, the Polish Deputy Minister of National Defense said around 40,000 soldiers, up from around 10,000, will be deployed to Poland's eastern border in the coming days. A boost in troop presence was expected, given that Russian and Belarusian Russia-Belarus Zapad military exercises are set to kick off a series of military drills on Friday.
The Polish army has conducted exercises in which over 30,000 Polish soldiers, as well as soldiers of the NATO alliance, took part in order to adequately respond. Let's remember that Zapad 2025 is an offensive exercise.
The Kremlin on September 11th dismissed statements by Warsaw and other European countries about the shooting down of Russian drones over NATO member state Poland as nothing new, and said that Moscow would be making no further comment on the situation. Asked about the joint statement, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Moscow would not be issuing new comments on the situation because the Russian Defense Ministry had already issued its own statement.
As for the rhetoric and statements that we hear from Warsaw, well, actually there is nothing new there. This rhetoric has been characteristic of almost all European capitals lately. We see its continuation. There will be no new comment. Our defense ministry commented on this, and it offered consultations if necessary. There is nothing to add.
Poland, Ukraine and Lithuania, in a joint statement on September 11th, condemned Russia over Wednesday's drone incursion into Polish airspace, calling it a deliberate and unprecedented provocation. Polish President Karol Nawrocki told soldiers on September 11th, Russian drones entering Polish airspace on Wednesday was an attempt to test Poland's and NATO's capability to react.
This Russian provocation, as the generals and our soldiers are well aware, was nothing more than an attempt to test our capabilities. The ability of politicians, the Polish president and the Polish prime minister, to respond to what is happening today. It was an attempt and provocation to test the mechanisms of operation within the North Atlantic Alliance and our readiness to respond.
Poland also said the UN Security Council will hold an emergency meeting to discuss drone incursions into its airspace, which its president portrayed as an attempt by Russia to test Warsaw and NATO's response. The UN did not immediately comment, but Slovenia, Denmark, Greece, France and Britain have asked the Security Council to meet on Friday, diplomats said on Wednesday. Poland also banned drone flights along its eastern borders with Belarus and Ukraine and limited small air traffic there after shooting down what it said were Russian drones that violated its airspace on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Ukraine urged Slovakia not to downplay Russia's role in violating Polish airspace after Slovak Foreign Minister Jaraj Blánar suggested the drones were meant for Ukraine rather than Poland.